Comment, bienvenue, welcome once again to another live stream with the incredible Vicky Poole from Tender Response. You may recognize her. Slightly shorter hair, but we'll get used to it. We always talk about what you have to do to be successful in tendering, and today is no exception. We are talking about how to plan and forecast. Now, we all know that if you're part of any kind of sales team, any kind of team in a business, at some point you're going to need to forecast, and tendering is no exception. Vicky, tell us more.
Absolutely. So when you have a tender, you kind of know when it's coming, but not always. So here we're going to be talking about forecasting and planning. So most organizations, when you're in there, you're going to have a generic bid response template, and in that template it gives you, it's your standard questionnaire information. So it's all the information about your company. There's going to be information present in there about your GDPR statements. So you've got the plan. You've got all your certificates correctly stored. If you haven't, let me know, and I'll give you a bit of a template about how we do ours for our clients. But then you're sitting there and you're twiddling your thumbs. You're waiting for a tender to be released. Well, if you go back, say you have a competing product with another company, and you really want to sell this to this council, and you know they've signed a 3-year agreement. You know, if they signed that 3-year agreement in 2022, that it's going to be coming out in 2025. That's the first available opportunity where that contract could come up. So what do? Well, you can either sit there and twiddle your thumbs. You can strategically plan to market your products, your wares to that council. You can find that council when they're attending industry events and talk to them about your product and service, or you can do a combination of all three. So shortly to be announced in the coming months, we are working on a wonderful brand new service called Tender Insights, where we will look at when contracts are coming up, if the council has a tendency of using the +1+1 arrangements. So on all central government, main government, local government contracts, there is a +1+1 optional extension that's available at the end of the contract. So the initial term on a contract is the initial contracting period, but a +1 and a +1 can be added on at the end to prolong that procurement. There are some councils out there that never use them, some that always use them, and some that just use the one.
Right.
Now, why is this important? It's super important because then you can work that into your active marketing. So you can look up the contact details for Gareth and his team. You can look up the details for Vicky Poole, and you can actively start targeting. So if you've got a service, for example, revenue and benefits, you can work out who that sits with from an executive position and as well as from an elected member, and you can start canvassing them. Right. Now, the second that tender is released, guess what? The doors come down and you can't email them at all. That's called canvassing, when I get the word right.
It's cut at that point, isn't it? You can't really.
It is, yes.
Them at all.
It is, and when you're looking at when you have all this valuable information, you get to strategically plan. So most tenders, start to finish, take about 6 months to go through to reach completion. So if a tender is out and available now, it's likely going to complete in the next 6 months. And then you're going to have if it's physical infrastructure, it could be anything up to 12 months run out. If it's software, you've got 3 to 6 months transition. So you can kind of start to look back at where the previous contract ends and say, well, actually, for my service, I'm a roofer, I'm a joiner, I'm whatever I am. It doesn't matter for me because the one contract stops and the next contract starts. We dovetail. And therefore, it won't be as impactful for you. Whereas other companies that do have a run out, most councils want to alleviate any dual running.
Right.
Or they'll ask the incoming supplier to fund that. So it's something to bear in mind. Oh, what a wonderful topic today. So much to talk about.
Well, I mean, look, planning is always very useful. Forecasting is a much more of a science based around previous knowledge as well, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
You're partially forecasting on previous interactions. So therefore, if you've done previous tenders, is there any linkage between previous tenders with the same organization and the future ones, or do you have to take each one as a separate case?
Oh, I think what you're talking about there, Gareth, is understanding your benchmarking against your competition. So
Right.
that in itself, absolutely. So there were tenders that I would respond to when I worked in corporate that were literally done. I didn't want the business, but I was literally responding in order to sanity check that my responses were improving on content, understand where the price points were by the winning providers, so that I can. So if I was responding to a bid and my bid came in at 1.2 mil and the winning bid was 900 grand, I would be able to work out pro rata where my competition had cheaper costs than me or had eroded their margin more competitively than me, so that when I came up against them in a contract that I really wanted to win, I knew that they'd be selling that thing at £97 instead of 104. And that made me more competitive. Now, in a marketplace where we here at Tender Response, we're supporting our clients winning contracts from their competition, we do and we will be offering some competitor analytics where we'll be able to look back at previous contracts and say, well, Gareth from Many Purple Hats, he offered, or his solution to this contract was this, which is publicly available, freely information, as long as it's not been restricted through a restricted covenant, so we can get that information. And the call off from that solution was 800 grand, and we can help the client work out what the commercials are and what the rates are in the marketplace to give them the best insight possible on what they need to be pricing this solution as in the new world, in the new tender that they're responding to.
Wow.
You're nodding. That's a dangerous sign. It's a dangerous sign when Gareth starts nodding.
Well, your internet connection's a bit shonky, and so you'll become.
I think we've got a little bit of lag. Gareth, are you still there?
Yes. Can you keep going?
Yep, thumbs up. Cool. So very quickly, because I'm conscious that Gareth and I have a lag. You can also use freedom of information requests. So you can ask your target councils, whether or not they're going to be coming out for procurement for this year, whether it's in forecast or budget, because sometimes councils, they go through the +1 exercise because they haven't got budget to run the procurement that fiscal, and therefore they push it into the next year. That's one of the tactics that they have used in the past. Freedom of information requests can be submitted to councils through their website. Some of them ask you to complete a form.
So she'll be back in a second. Very sorry. I think Vicky's connection is a little bit on the fritz. But what I'm going to do for you right now is I'm just going to provide you some real useful information. If you are looking to engage in a tender, if you're looking to get more information, I would say go there first of all. It's full of useful information. Here she is back again. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry about that, everybody. Oh, it's been a little bit of drama.
That's all right. We love a bit of drama. You've got lock on, so it's not rotating the screen.
Oh, Gareth, I'm really sorry. I can't hear you.
Oh well, okay. So I'm also going to put. There we go. There's your a number where you can ask her questions. Unfortunately, she has a Wi-Fi connection at the moment. It seems to be a bit up and down. What I would say is that it's well worth contacting her if you want to ask any question at all about the potential of a tender. Now, today we're talking very much about. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now, yes.
Lovely.
Sorry, everybody. We've got some bandwidth issues here in my village.
That's fine. So what I've done is I've brought up your resources pack there at the bottom that people can you can get some further information from there. And I would say she's always available if you want to send a message through asking any questions about forecasting or any other aspect of applying for a tender. So carry on where you left off. I do apologize for that. I just thought I'd use that as a useful segue. Are we still talking about carbon impact reporting at all?
No, that event was last week. You missed it. So carbon impact will come through again.
Good. So
yeah, so carbon reporting will come through again in the coming months. We are launching a new service called Green Response, helping people to be more sustainable with their carbon reporting.
Fantastic. All right. So Vicky, pick up where you left off before you lost your connection.
Sorry, everybody. We've got some rather significant issues here. Really apologize for that. So yeah, carbon reporting will come back around again in a couple of months' time. Just to finish off what we were saying before about freedom of information. So you can ask councils for under freedom of information regarding anything to do with their contracts or initial call-off commercials. Now, all this is available publicly, so you can find it yourself. You can wade through the contracts.gov.uk information. It's a complete database, or you can use some of the reporting services from the Tender Insights service. We can pull that information for you. But what you can't draw down is the line-by-line rate card pricing. That will obviously be commercially sensitive. And standard questions that I would encourage you to ask would be, do you foresee this contract coming up for renewal this year? Will you be going out for tender? What portal will you be using? And if appropriate, what framework? Now, this gives you the opportunity to be registered on that framework and also be registered and paying attention to the relevant portal. Or if you're far too busy, of course, to be looking after your own portals yourself, you can always inquire for a bid scanning service or a tender finder service from your chosen bid writer of choice. We'd like it to be Tender Response, but of course, there's plenty of opportunities to work with other bid writers out there who can support you.
Well, I'm afraid I think I'm going to have to probably bring this to a close because, unfortunately, Vicky's internet connections are in no way a reflection of her capability as an amazing bid writer. I'll tell you what I'm going to do is I'm going to provide you once again the WhatsApp telephone number and just say it's well worth having a conversation. If any of these issues that we've been talking about, specifically to do with forecasting or any other aspect, in any way impacts upon you and your abilities to get a tender through. Now, one of the ways in which she and her team have made absolutely brilliant headway for me and also for some of my clients have been in picking out the actual tenders that best suit our capabilities so that we don't end up falling headlong into those gotchas that they have. I'm going to see if I can bring her back to the stage. There we go. Your Wi-Fi is terrible today.
It's not Wi-Fi, it's data. We have no internet in my village today. We've had a tractor go through the cable. So the data is pokey. Apologies. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. Well,
so I don't know how much everyone got today because we've had so much trouble with connectivity. If someone's looking for more information about how you can scope up what your competition are doing, understand their price points, and do something a little bit differently, you can reach out to us at Tender Response. You've got my number there. That's my number. It is our company WhatsApp number as well, just because it's so easy to have everything together these days. Or you can email me at admin@tenderresponse.co.uk and we will be all too happy to help.
Now, under normal conditions, this is pretty free-flowing. Apologies for whoever it is and that tractor driver All right. So I wish you all a very successful week. Remember that this is a short week, so you get your pedal on. But remember that tender response is possibly the best place to go to make sure you're in the right way, that you are looking to get the right tenders that suit your company so you get that solid income that could be lasting for years. The best way to get forward on that, I would say, is an initial conversation with Vicky Poole and 07896 909 776. And remember the resources at the bottom, which is https:// www.tenderresponse.co.uk/resources. And until the next time we do this, thank you all. We are typically here ready to help one and all. But until then, I wish you all a successful week and, of course, great mental health.